Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Game Junkie Show here, episode 11. Welcome to the art of gaming. I have three amazingly talented artists on the show. I'd love to introduce you to Julia. Hi, Julia.
Hello.
And then we have some newbies on the show. We have Lena.
Hi.
And we have Liv.
Hiya.
So before we kind of jump in and get going, why don't each of you talk a little bit about your art and your background as an artist, and that will help people that are listening and watching kind of get a gist of what you guys do artistically.
I guess I'll go first. So I have a degree in art and art history. So I went to college for it. Before that, I've been doing art since forever. My specialty is jewelry. I'm a jeweler. I have my own business in my house. But like I can do other things like painting, I draw. If you think of it, I can probably figure it out. You know what I mean?
Love the confidence.
You should see some of the very difficult situations I've been put in, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Let's just smash things together and see where it goes. It can't get any worse. Let's just see where it goes. You know what I mean? So
is that in my mind, because I don't know much I'm not an artist, I don't know much about art. I don't know what to think in my mind. Is that how it works for a lot of artists? Is it just they make it up, or is it a really strategic thing, or is it maybe just depends on the artist?
So it's actually both. A lot of people have to come up with a plan. A lot of times you have people that get requests from customers, commissions, and it's like you have to bring their vision to life. But in a way, it's also your vision. It uniquely belongs to you. Just like when you're reading a book, everyone has read the same book, but everyone sees things differently when they read the book. You know, like my Yennefer from The Witcher might look different than your Yennefer from The Witcher, even though we read the same book. So it's like,
Right? She didn't mean to mute.
did you hear me?
No, for some reason in the middle of you talking, your phone muted your audio.
Oh, awesome. So what was the last thing you heard?
The Yennefer thing, I think.
Okay,
Yes.
so your Yennefer might look different than my Yennefer. You know, it's like we've both read the same book, but that is kind of like what it's like. It's like your vision is being translated into what I'm creating, and that's what you're paying for. You know, it's like so it belongs uniquely to both of us is what I'm saying. So it's like you might be presented with a customer that wants something that's particularly difficult to make, and you're like, flying dragon with stone, and I really like the color green, and oh, I don't know, I really like books too, and you're like, let's try to do that. Like,
Interesting. Lena, now I know you, if you follow me on Twitter and see that I look adorable as a chibi, that was Lena, everybody. You could thank her for that. So Lena, why don't you tell us a little bit about your art and kind of your background as an artist?
So I have it mostly as a hobby for as long as I can think, probably. I've dabbled in different mediums. Mostly I was traditional art, like drawing. Photography is also one of my big passions, which I don't have time for at the moment. Thanks, uni. Yeah, I've also done sculpting a bit. And I started with digital drawing at the beginning of this year. Saved up for a digital drawing tablet and yeah, just went for it. Was definitely a new challenge as an artist because it is quite different than traditional art and I wouldn't have expected that. But yeah, so yeah, that's mainly what I'm doing. And at the moment, I'm mostly doing digital art. Yeah, because it can be combined. It doesn't take up much space. It's literally just I have it right here. This thing. So it saves space compared to traditional art, where you have like a lot of materials that you have to store, and yeah, so this is quite handy that you can still make art and save some space at the same time. I have become interested in digital art mainly due to streaming, which, as I said earlier already, when we just talked, that I'm taking a break from that at the moment. But that was why I got interested in that, because of the Twitch emotes. That when you get affiliated on Twitch, you can like get up to 5 custom emotes. Partners get more, but it doesn't matter now. And yeah, I have just become interested in that. I was like, I could do this myself. Then I got a tablet, and a friend of mine asked me to draw something for him, and yeah, that's basically how I also started taking commissions.
Very cool. So it's kind of through gaming that kind of puts your other passion, two passions connecting one another.
Yep.
Liv, what about you? Tell us. I think I've seen some of your art. I think maybe Rob has shared some art that might be yours. Is some of it a little,
Yep.
is some of it a little sexy?
The Ichiban one, yes.
That would be your art then. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your art and kind of your background as an artist?
Okay. So basically, I've always done art since I was a wee kid. My brother is like the artist in the family, so I definitely got inspired by him when I was younger, and he used to like teach me how to draw and stuff, and it was this cute little thing. So that was probably when I was maybe like 13, and I'm 20 now, so it's been a while. I started digitally drawing in probably like 2017, maybe earlier than that. So when I was about 16, 15, 16. And that's been it ever since. I love drawing so much. I love art in general. I love painting as well. I've recently got into like resin art, which is super fun. I don't know. I really enjoy having an idea of this cool thing, and then just being able to like do it, and then just be like, yeah, this is it. Throw it out to the world. This is it. I'm done. I don't know. I really like it. I've had obviously with ups and downs with art and stuff. It's just bound to happen. But I really enjoy how far I've come, and I really love drawing all the time. So I'm happy.
Super cool. Now, I know when we hear the word art, at least I think for most people, kind of the default is we think of drawing or painting or sculpting. But when we look at art as a giant medium, as a giant umbrella, that could also include, right, music and writing. And what are some other, especially since today we're kind of talking about how that intertwines with video game development, what are some other forms of art?
I think a lot of that can actually be transmitted to digitally. As I said, like as you said, sculpting as an example, but you also have 3D modeling, which is very essential for games. I would consider that just to be the digital equivalent of sculpting in real life.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's it.
See, I've never fancied myself to be an artist, but I do write professionally, and companies hire me to write for them. So that would, in theory, be a form of art. Yeah. Is that
Right.
okay?
And I
That
think
counts. Look at that good job. So,
it does absolutely count.
do what?
I said it absolutely does count.
Look at
Writing.
that. I'm an
Yes.
artist.
Because you make it up in your mind, and you like artists, like when you think about drawing, you think of it in your mind and then put it onto paper or your tablet or whatever, but you think the words in your head, you think what you want to write, and you put it in this essay, whatever. So it is definitely art.
Right.
Yeah.
You are a wordsmith. I'm a
that.
metalsmith. You're a wordsmith.
I know. And my last name is actually Smith. So what are the odds of that?
The odds.
Maybe it was destiny. So
Wow.
here's where I'm just going to say what I think, because again, I don't think I'm as much of a level of artist as you are. But if I think of the term art direction, I'm not even sure if I know what that means. But when I think of it, to me, I think of it as it's a way that elements are designed in the game that make me feel something. And when I think of gameplay, to me, that's the connections between what I see. So it's the connection of that art and how I experience it as a player. So as individuals who are heavily artistic, who have a background in art, why don't you kind of weigh in on how you perceive that and you interpret that as an artist?
So art, you create it, but you don't own it, honestly. You can put out a piece of art and then people are free to interpret it however they want to interpret it. So it belongs to everybody. It's like I said, it's an idea. Art is also an idea. So it's like when you're thinking of an art direction and you have people that pour their heart and soul into a video game's art direction and everything that goes into it, the music, the writing, the sculpting, all of those things have to come together to form a direction, you know? And they the artists are at the whim of the people who are asking them to make it look like a certain thing, or they give certain descriptions. Like if you're taking commissions, you usually ask your customer, well, give me a guideline to follow, and you follow that guide, and whatever comes out, you need feedback from that. So you need critical feedback from the person that has hired you, and then you adjust it accordingly. But as an art direction, it's like how it makes you feel, it just is subjective. Like I can look at a Monet and be like, that is stunning. It's gorgeous. But then someone else might be like, impressionism really just isn't my thing. Like, I don't think that
Mhm.
that's real talent. It's just blobs of color on a thing. So it's subjective.
So
Yeah.
then, oh, sorry, go ahead, Lena.
I totally agree with that because I think a good way to think about it is how everyone perceives games differently, how everyone might hate a different part about a game and others love it. One splendid example for that is The Last of Us 2, which was, if you followed Twitter, it was very, uh, yeah.
Very divided.
Mm.
It still is.
Um, and it's just, you can see that not as extreme, but with the different sides of, yeah, I like this game, no, it totally not my thing. All the time with games, some people might like it, some others don't like it.
So then let me ask you this, because I'm guessing you see things differently from the way I see things. I'm not sure that I see things to the same depth as you as far as like color and design. So if you're playing a video game, do you think as artists you look at the details more, and are there oh god, all three of you are like, oh my god.
Definitely.
So Liv, I'm gonna start with you because
Okay.
you like the Stewart from the Mad TV. You were very, very excited. So tell us a little bit about like what details you see that you're really focused on as an artist.
Well, with me personally, I have a diploma in filmmaking as well. So when I'm playing a game and it's got cinematics, I'm like, oh my god, gorgeous. Mwah. So I think when I'm watching a movie or like a game, and if I'm playing a game or whatever, I notice those and I notice them so finely. And I really really appreciate if a camera, like the camera angle is slightly tilted, or like it's something's just out of focus, or like the colors and things. I really really love colorful things. And I think one of my favorite games is Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a beautifully colored game. Oh my god. Literally that game is so colorful, it's so bright, it's so fun. And I think something that they do very very well is with all of the colors, they make you feel those emotions that are linked to those colors. So like if she's sad, if Aloy's sad, then she's blue, or the color theory stuff. So I think that's super fun, and I definitely notice it when I see it. And I appreciate the game a wee bit more if I see it, because I'm like, oh, I know what that is. That's cool. But yeah, overall, I really love it. Cinematography is so well done as well in that game as well.
Uh-huh. Julia, I know you have so much to say. I can tell. You're just holding it back.
So, all right. So I am a huge fan of architecture because it's like I said, my art is like my background is not
Mhm.
just art. studio, it's art history. Oh my god. Ancient history is like, it's so delicious. It's delicious. And it's like, a couple of my favorite series is, of course, the Uncharted series, but also the Prince of Persia series, like the, 2000s ones. I freaking love the architecture. The architecture in the Uncharted series is just mind blowing. It is so stunning. And it's like, I feel the same way that Liv feels about like the cinematography stuff. I don't have a background on that, so I'm sure that she, like, it just blows her mind, because they talk about set pieces, right? Because that's what I read about Uncharted. They made the set pieces first, and then they crafted the scenes around those set pieces. And that's one of the things that makes Naughty Dog so freaking good, is that they don't just see it as like a video game. They see it as like an experience, like set pieces of things. Like Nathan Drake falling out of the cargo plane in, I think it was 3. And that was stunning. But like, where they take inspirations from in real life is just, it just soothes the soul. Like, I just look at these things and it is so aesthetically pleasing. It's so put together. It's so wonderful. Like, I can't sing the Uncharted praises more. Like, I even love the first one. I mean, it is, I would say it's the weaker of, the series, but it's still stunning. Like, gorgeous. I can't take it.
Lena, what about you? What are some details that you really notice as an artist?
I'm absolutely digging environments, like especially nature environments, um, where others already said with the colors and everything. I totally love that when just the color just pops when you look at it. I sometimes also like I dabble a bit in virtual photography because of it, because yeah, I like photography in real life again and also in games. So I'm glad there's that option now. um, yeah, it's just the environments. I sometimes just see myself standing in the middle of fucking nowhere in the game and just staring at the scenery for minutes, and it's just every little detail. I notice birds flying around, and just sometimes I even create compositions in my mind how I could portray that in a photo.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to go.
Oh, all right.
It was very nice talking to you guys. I wish that this would have been longer. But it has been a pleasure, and I hope I see you guys again. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast again about art and music, and I can't wait to see the rest of this episode later on. So,
All right, have a great day.
Bye. See ya.
Yeah, she's got a little one. She's got a little one at home, so sometimes if he's not quite on his nap schedule, she hops out. So
All right.
Lena, sorry about that.
What was I? Environments. Yeah. Yeah. I just that's something I notice a lot, and the character you play, so the main character mostly, the details on that character, especially. So some games where the faces look completely smooth, like no pores, no hair in the face or something, and the more modern and accurate, I'd say, games become, the more details you have on the actual playable character. Like with Aloy and Forbidden West now, with the little hairs on her cheek, it was insane to me. I immediately saw that, and I was like, "Holy!" And that's something I always appreciate and see, and just the textures, which I also have to admit that I can't play like with the low polygon counts. I can't play those games because it's not aesthetically pleasing to me, and that's very important for me in a game. And I think that might be influenced by me liking art or being artistically involved in things.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting that you point that out. With the PS5, I've been able to. I don't think I've ever played games outside of 30 frames per second because I don't play PC games. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I see the appeal, but I keep getting drawn back to the visual fidelity aspects of it. So would you kind of, and I never really thought about that before, but would you kind of say that that is more appealing to kind of the artist inside of you is to see all of those advancements and see the extra resolution and the ray tracing and that overframe? I mean, or is there an argument there? What do you think as an artist on that?
I think well, I'm a PC gamer, so I like frames as well. I notice frame drops a lot, but that's mostly to do with that I get motion sick really easy. So I sometimes have the issue on console when it's locked to 30 FPS and sometimes dips that I'm like, ugh. But art direction is equally as important to me because yeah, I just want to have a game that's aesthetically pleasing to look at. So yeah, I'm a big fan of ray tracing. Side note, because it looks amazing. Like the reflections and everything, and especially at nighttime, you see it the most, I think, when it's nighttime in games. Unpopular example, because yeah, also a game not many people liked, but Cyberpunk looks amazing at night with all the LEDs and the colors, and it's beautiful.
Is it called chromatic aberration, where you have like the light? Is that what it's called? Where the light, like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to articulate it, but oh my God, I only want to do missions at night. I actually am enjoying that game, and I know it's popular to take a shit on it. I think some of the things they did that are they did really, really good, but that is
Yeah.
the beautiful. Night City is absolutely stunning at night. I love to just run around that game at night. And
Because you were talking about like details and faces and stuff. For me, I don't think that for a game to be good or pretty is like super in depth, like pores, stuff like that. I think I'm really heavy on the color stuff. So like another one of my favorite games is Concrete Genie, which is like a cartoon sort of, it's not like super high def resolution sort of stuff, but again they do colors in that very, very well. It's super fun, loving. It's a really sweet story as well. I know it's just an indie game and it's like tiny, but I really adore it, and I think more people should play that as well. But yeah, I do think that a game can be pretty when it's got like super high def resolution. But I think for me personally, I kind of go for stuff that isn't so focused on that, because I think sometimes that can sort of lose the story almost, I guess. I don't know, just a wee nitpicky thing that I do.
so what would you think about, there are I enjoy games that have a lot of story arcing, games
Mhm.
where there's a lot of paths that can be determined. So there are some games out there like Hidden Agenda or Erica. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
ever played them, but they're essentially people that are acting. Do you
Yeah.
think any differently of being an artist? Do you go, well, I mean, it's kind of cheating because they're people acting, or do you still look at the set design and and the cinematics, and what is
Yeah.
that experience like for you?
I think if it's like the where it is the people acting, I still enjoy those games. There's one that was on PS4 that was like a free to play thing, which was called Erica. That was really fun.
Love
I
it.
really enjoyed that one. I do enjoy those types of game. I think I don't really play them much, to be honest. But whenever I come across one, I'm like, amazing, great, loved it. And Erica was such a fun story as well. I think it's really good. There was a horror one that came out recently. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically you're walking around a hotel, but it's like the
At dead of
acted out.
night.
That one. You're right. It's that, and that was super fun as well. Super creepy. I was scared shitless in that. It was so good.
So it's a
I really
horror.
enjoyed that.
It's a horror game that's like a live.
With interactive movie bits and pieces.
Yeah,
Ooh, I will have to look into that. I'm
it's
a
very
wimp. I'm
fun.
not good at horror, but I do love those kinds of games. It's so interesting. I'm actually learning a lot about myself, I think, as I listen to you talk, and certain things are clicking with me. If I had to pick games that to me spoke artistically, Horizon Zero Dawn is at the top because it felt like I was there. It felt like I'm really in this setting. I actually loved the story. I loved the writing. That's the number one thing for me, is writing and arcing and believability. Uncharted series was so fucking authentic. The
Yeah.
set design on that is crazy. So then let's take a step deeper. Is there a video game that feels like it is entirely a piece of art? One cohesive piece of art. that was implemented as a video game?
Ori and the Blind Forest and Will of the Wisps and Hollow Knight. They are both hand-drawn and animated from everything that was drawn. So everything in those games is hand-drawn and hand-animated. So that's pretty crazy to me.
Those were awesome selections. That's Liv, we have to try to come up with one.
I think, I guess a game, it's not maybe more so that it was like all hand drawn, but well, I suppose a wee bit. Cuphead, that was a piece of art, all in all. Celeste, piece of art, all in all. Yeah, I think there's loads of games that are like that where you can take it out of the fact of you need to play it and just think, oh my god, I'm enjoying this experience just seeing it. So like again, I know I'm gonna talk about Horizon a lot, but for Horizon it's me. Like just if I was just to watch somebody else play that, I'd still love it. Because I just enjoy the entire experience of it. And there's loads of Switch games as well that I can't think the names of. But like just it doesn't need to be on like a controller or like on a PS4 or a PC or whatever. I think there's loads of pieces like that where it's just art. Just all in all, just art.
That's the first thing that came to my mind when we came up with this question was actually Cuphead. Because it's a really challenging platformer, but it felt like a 1930s comic strip to me.
Yeah.
Like it felt like the comic strip was the main part, and then the platformer was like the secondary part. So as hard as it was,
and it looks so authentic, like the 90s cartoons.
It really does.
The really soundtrack as well, amazing.
Oh, there you go. So soundtrack part. So besides just the visuals, are there maybe certain soundtracks or certain like cinematography directions or acting things that really stood out to you two being artists? Like what are some kind of examples that you would give to people for things inside a game that's done really, really well from an artistic perspective?
I like it when music just brings over the feelings you're supposed to feel in a certain situation in a game. I think Nier Automata did a good job with that. The soundtrack is absolutely amazing in my opinion. If not even my favorite soundtrack of all time. Witcher also did a good job with that, Witcher 3 in particular, with making you feel this environment with this woman when you're fighting going la 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 la. It's just, I don't know, it feels fitting. It just, that's something for me is important, that the music just feels like it fits the situation. I can't think of an example where it wasn't the case, because most games actually do a good job with that. But there is games that are more outstanding and better in that.
For one of the games for me is Ghost of Tsushima. Amazing. Not only does it look visually gorgeous, but like the soundtrack is really well done. I think like Cuphead, it really suits the emotions that it's trying to attribute towards. So especially like when Jin gets to play the flute, or he gets to you get to see the wind and stuff. I think that it's just done very, very well. All the sound, the cues of everything that happens in that game is so beautifully done as well. Spider-Man Miles Morales, I think they took the Spider-Man theme from the PS4 game and just made it so much better. They made it so much more like Miles. I think it really kind of goes into like black culture as well with music. It's done so well. I really love that. I think that game does so well with the music. They make it so much more fun than the PS4 normal one.
I love what they did culturally. I found it to have really strong political messaging without being glaringly obvious.
Yeah.
Finn is probably one of my favorite character development arcs of all time, and I think she's so relative to a lot of struggles that a lot of people face, particularly in inner cities where they don't have access to as much. And to see her not actually really be a villain at all, I could probably talk all day. There I go on one of those tangents. But yeah, that was incredibly well done. So then it sounds like to me, you two being artists, the message I'm hearing is that literally everything about a video game is art. Is that a fair statement?
I've been
110%.
saying this for years. Games are art.
Yeah.
I mean, because every single aspect of the video game is thought out, it's planned,
Mhm.
and it comes together to make this immersive, emotional experience that goes beyond movies or music because we're somewhat in control. There's a
Yeah,
is that kind of a
exactly.
fair statement? So are there any games that you've played recently that kind of make you think all of the things they did really put me in this immersive world or this immersive environment or like
I think one of the ones for me, that I've played somewhat recently was Yakuza 7. I think that does it so perfectly about how, like the found family stuff. I'm such a big fan of that. I think especially within like the LGBT plus community, I think found family is so important. So having a story where, you could come from a family that's not that great, but if you have friends that you're gonna be with forever, then it makes it all worthwhile. And I think that game does it so well where everything just makes you feel like they're genuinely friends and they all genuinely care about each other and love each other. And it just makes you want to be like, oh, I haven't messaged that person in a while. I should probably talk to them and tell them that I miss them. Like, just to make you, I think that it's so important for games to make you feel something. So I think that game was very well done to make you feel emotive.
That's an awesome choice. Lena, what do you think? What's a game that you played kind of recently that you think just kind of nailed creating that environment for you artistically?
Oh, it's a hard choice, and it wasn't quite recently. It was pretty much exactly 1 year ago. The Last of Us 2. I know it is quite divisive, but there was so much attention to detail in that game that you like I've seen multiple videos because I was so fascinated with all the details in the game that like little details you might have missed is like when you like smash someone with a bat in the face, there's literally teeth flying out in the blood
Mhm.
that you can see there. And I remember when I was playing through it that I got into this room, like everything was grown over with like ivy and whatnot, and there was this whole streamer setup in this room, and I was like, damn. So much attention to detail put there that's insane to me. Then as the first The Last of Us, I think it was also the music was by Gustavo Santaolalla,
Sandolo.
however
Mhm.
you pronounce that.
Yeah, Sandolo.
um and to me the score was completely outstanding in the first game already, and I listened to it all the time after I finished playing the first game, and it was similar with this one. And it also managed to transport the emotion really well. Again, the story, as divisive as it might be, I loved it. I think it was perfectly paced for me. um what happened felt fitting to me, and it really made me feel things I have never thought a video game could make me feel. I
Mhm.
cried so often in this game, it's actually crazy. And that's one of the only games that has left me my feelings almost shattered for the longest time.
Yeah. That game was I've never yeah, I'm with you. I've never felt that way before in a game and I hope people continue to take narrative risks like that so we can have those moments again. I'm going to pick a very controversial game for my oh you had more
Yeah,
points.
it was when you said it was controversial and that they took a risky pick. It's also something you could interpret as art. They didn't make the game fan service. People wanted
Mhm.
this certain character to survive, um, and they didn't. They took the risk, and I think it's brave to do that. They got backlash for it. We can't deny that. Um, but they went with it. They went with their artistic vision of what they had planned, and I think that's great.
I mean, and I know you're a big PC gamer, but Naughty Dog can make some damn games, can't they? I mean,
Mm. It's the
that
reason I got the PS4 last year.
I mean that
Because
is
I'm not missing that.
yeah, I mean the group of yeah, artistically, holy shit, that studio, right? It's insane. Uh, so for mine, I'm going to pick a game that's super controversial that a lot of people take a shit on, but I'm just going to say it because it's true. I absolutely loved the world that Cyberpunk created. I absolutely loved it. It wasn't just how pretty Night City was. I like how they roped the story into it. I loved if you do a lot of exploring and do a lot of quests, the game took a lot of current real world conspiracy things that people freak out about and kind of turned them into a reality in the future that I thought was really clever. And the destruction of kind of the planet and the animals and us eating insects and all these things that I said, these are things we talk about today, right? These are things that you see today, and they took all of these things and they added it into it. I thought they made really great NPCs that had personality, and like if you got finished developing a friendship or romancing, it changed the way they had dialogue and follow up with you. And I just thought those were some neat. So despite the rough things that they did and the duct tape that's holding it together, they did some really cool things in world building that I thought artistically were really great. Are there any other studios besides, I'm not asking if anybody else is as good as Naughty Dog, but what other studios do you think artistically do a really good job of just delivering games that have all of the details thought out and executed really well?
To me, recently, it's actually a lot of indie studios. I feel like they put more thought into art direction and story, especially. A lot of people, I know a lot of people don't really play indie games. I think they're really underappreciated. One of my prime examples for that is A Plague Tale: Innocence. It's an indie game and it's absolutely crazy. It's free on PS Plus this month for PS5. Check it out if you haven't.
A plug.
It's absolutely amazing. It was my game of the year 2019. After I found out it's an indie game, I was completely mind blown. I didn't expect it. It felt like a AAA title. And also other games like as I said earlier, Hollow Knight is also a indie game, and it doesn't feel like it. They are doing such a good job with that, and I think that especially counts for horror games, if I'm quite honest. Horror indie games tend to be better, in my opinion, because I feel like the AAA horror often caters or tries to cater to a wider audience so more people can play it, which makes sense because they have a higher budget. But for me personally, I feel like indie horror games dare to put more stuff in. And create more horrifying stuff, which also could be interpreted as art, like gory stuff. One prime example for that would be, for me, Visage. I don't know if you guys know it. That for me is visually one of the, if not the most outstanding horror game I have ever seen. The sound design is beyond amazing. I almost cried playing this game due to the sound design, and I'm not someone who is, I mean, I jump scares also get me, but I'm not someone who is literally terrified playing a game. I didn't dare to go out of a room because of what is going to happen. The ghosts look absolutely terrifying. The sound design is insane. It has a kind of like an AI into the game that it kind of feels how you do. You have a sanity meter, so if your sanity drops too low, more paranormal stuff will happen. It's absolutely crazy, and that's an indie game. It's made by 5 people.
Wow, that's Visage.
Visage, yeah.
Okay, so if that sounds awesome, you definitely need to check that out. That sounds fantastic.
I think something that sounds similar to that is Phasmophobia. That's also, it sounds like that, where when I'm playing it, that obviously it's like, this is multiplayer, so I don't ever play it alone. I'm too scared to play that alone. But I really enjoy the fact that like it interacts with your voice. I love that idea. It's so terrifying. Oh my god. The fact that you can have a spirit box in that game and you can ask it questions and it replies is so good. I've never had a game that was multiplayer and it played so well. And like you mentioned about the ghosts and or the spirits in that game, and Phasmophobia as well, they're very well done. They genuinely look really scary.
Wow.
But imagine Phasmo and Visage is like 3 times that.
Well, there you go.
It's just single player, and you don't have like a spirit box or something, but there's this one part in the game where suddenly all light switches are gone. All lights are off, and you only have a camera to light. So you click and it lights. So it's completely terrifying, and all light switches are gone, and sometimes you hear like a distant breathing in a room when you go near it, and sometimes a silhouette just stands there with a white dress or something, and it's absolutely terrifying. And Phasmo would be that in single player, I'd say. In multiplayer, sorry. So yeah, when Phasmo came out, we literally binged that for weeks. It's so great.
I'm gonna take your word for that. I am a chicken shit. I don't like the feeling of anxiety. Movies don't scare me. I go to haunted houses. None of that bothers me. If I have a remote in my hand and I'm responsible to make the decisions, everything changes. And I don't like feeling scared or anxious. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I almost couldn't play the Last of Us series because I don't like zombies. I don't like the noise.
I agree with games being way scarier than movies or books or whatever, or haunted houses. It's just different. It's just you're in control. You make the decision what to do. So if a ghost jumps in your face, it was up to you, you know? It was your thing.
The remote's getting thrown. The remote's getting thrown. The first time I encountered a rat king, I accidentally activated photo mode, kicked my puppy in the head, and punched my wife in the face, and that is not an exaggeration. I had people at my house. I panicked, and I was like, I pushed a bunch of buttons and flopped, and then people got hurt. And so maybe I do plan to play the Plague Tale. I'm gonna try it. Try it.
I can assure you, it is not that scary. It's more like a dark atmospheric type of thing. It's not. There is no jump scares or kind of like that. It's a bit tense at times, but more into the dark than the horror aspect.
I think actually, now that you say that, the horror is not what bothers me. It's the tense. I hate that anxiety, tense feeling. Like I feel that in real life. So to feel that and get like little nightmares, no, just. But would you say I should try games like that more often? Can you get used to it? Like, can you kind of? Oh fuck.
You can get used to it. I hated horror games. I actively avoided them even. I started playing them more. Also last year, actually, beginning of last year, end of 2019. And the first one I went in was one I could never finish. Before I tried it 3 times and I could never finish it, and it was Alien Isolation. I was on the verge of crying in that game a few times, but at the end I was actually actively annoyed at that alien because it's just obnoxious. It's everywhere. Mm-hmm. And the game, it's also something, the length in horror games plays a big part, and Alien Isolation is just too long. It's too long, and I think it took me 27 hours to finish it. Also partly because I was a chicken shit and sat in the corner all the time.
Well, that was like me with Last of Us 1 and 2. Last of Us 1, I played it with Rob, actually. I played it with him on just share play on PS4, but it was like just a couple of weeks before Last of Us 2 came out, and I'd never played the first one before. I'd never really seen anything of it. I'd done very well concealing spoilers, considering it'd been out for so many years. So I played that, absolutely adored it, but I played that and I took so many hours. It was so dumb because I would just hear noises and I would just sit and I would just crouch and I'd be like, I'm not fucking leaving, I'm staying here. And that was what it was like.
Does a really good job with that one building where it's like all the bureaus and these things that grew onto the wall and jump at you.
Yeah.
Where you're
I died a few times there.
Is that the one where you have to go get the mask for Lev?
I think so, yeah. No, it's with Ellie, and you go into this building and try to get down because you're up. Or what was it?
Yeah.
Was it Ellie? Yeah, it was Ellie.
I think it's Ellie, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Well, I know there's one with Abby where you have to get the mask.
Yeah, there's multiple missions with these. What are they called again? These that hide everywhere and then jump at you.
Oh, the stalkers, and the stalkers are
yeah.
in the wall, and then you keep going down, and there's more and more stalkers.
And the Rat King. That shit had me going. I was screaming.
What's the Ellie mission then? The Ellie one that had. Oh, there's a building with a bunch of stalkers in it. It's a similar building.
It's basically platforming almost, where it's like all these walls are torn down and you try to get down.
That's where the window scene is. Remember the window, and then you end up in the water. Yeah. But
I think so, yeah.
Second worst in the game. That, and then the one with now and I played that shit once already. I'm like, Lev, you gonna fucking die because I ain't gonna go get you this shit. I'm in and out. Oh my god. See, I don't like the.
Yeah, that was really a tense moment, but I could never play horror games before, and I was almost on the verge of crying playing Slenderman the 8 pages. So you can definitely get used to it. Yeah, I would say if you get too scared or too tense, turn down the volume. That's literally what makes horror games. It's the sound.
Exactly.
That is true. It is all about the noises. It was Alien Isolation that kind of wrecked me of tension building games because it took me way too long to figure out like you can't actually beat it.
The problem with Alien is more there is no sound. You have minimal sound. That's one of the horror games that's the most silent. You have no music, you have no sound. All you hear is some kind of squeaking, a beep here and there from the space station, like a clattering, and then you just hear this walking of the alien somewhere and just coming closer.
Actually, you're right. Now that I think about it, the music in games kind of tell you what's coming, right? Like it's audio cues in a sense, right? So it's like, oh, I know the music is getting tense, so something's going to happen. That, and they give you like 4,000 things of health kits and ammunition, so you know something's coming. It's worse when you don't hear anything, or the only thing you hear is the enemy, and there's nothing to distract you. I didn't realize that. That is that's why I could not stomach that. Is it was just way too intense.
Yeah, it was way later when I realized that. That's what makes Alien Isolation so different. It's you have no noise. You sometimes have the odd person talking that wants to shoot you after. And just other than that, you're alone with yourself, your own footsteps. That's all. And sometimes then you can hear the alien just crawling into vents or just standing around making some noise or something like that. But that's all you can hear basically. Where other horror games have like breathing, like these soft violin noises that start getting more high pitched when you get closer to the monster or something like that.
There is here I live in Florida, and there's like it's all theme parks here. It's like theme parks and old people. And at one of it's true. At one of the Disneys there was a ride, an Alien Isolation ride. And they put you in there and you're in it's several round rows, and you're looking at a tube, and then the alien goes into the tube from the movies, and then the power goes out and the alien breaks out, and it's silence. You can't hear anything. And then you hear thump, thump, thump. You hear people's footsteps and you feel it. There's like little vibrators, and these are like this is the original DualSense. So you felt the vibrations, but they have these little clamps that lock your hands like this. Okay, so you can't I'm like reaching for help, like like I couldn't. I'm like reaching to people next to me, like what's going to happen? So then you hear like screams, and then you hear, and then you feel a little drip. It's complete now. It's pitch black. There's no music, and you hear the, and then you get a little, and then there's a thing on the back of your seat, and you hear, and it blows breath on the back of your neck, and you just hear everybody scream. And then you hear it make this noise, and you get this little like spit on the back of your. That experience was fucking terrifying. Fantastic ride. They took.
Oh my god!
It was like this super immersive, scary experience, and I kind of feel like we're kind of hitting that point where some of these video games can give you like that sense of tension and like that. So when you say the no music, that's That's
Mhm.
you nailed that.
Mm.
Oh my god.
With
So
with the 3D effects, what reminds me of that is we are probably going to have some heavy improvements over the next couple of years, in my opinion, with VR. Ah, kitty. um, because imagine like when if VR becomes like you wear like an exosuit type of thing, so when something hits you, the it gives you kind of like a feeling that someone is hitting you there or touching you somewhere, and
Mhm.
that could be something. How I see is that VR could be improved
they have that
in a
now.
way.
They have that now. I forgot the name of it. It's a Kickstarter program.
Oh,
It got the money on Kickstarter. I have an Oculus Quest. You
mm,
can connect this to the Oculus Quest, and it's a full body. It's a haptics vest. So the developer can work with it and basically do kind of an immersive haptic control like the DualSense can do. So
that's
I think
something that's crazy. If that
Oh.
becomes more common, which I could imagine that it will likely be, because I think as you said already, there's like the haptics or like the new PlayStation controller. I don't know. It makes it so much more immersive if you can kind of transmit physical stuff with what you see.
Mhm.
and I'm so glad that we ended up getting on this unique tangent. That's isn't that art in a way?
Mhm.
Being creative enough to
Mm.
use all those pinpoint vibrations to
Yeah.
make somebody feel
I
something.
think that is super important that um, games will probably get to that point where they're going to use the other senses instead of just like your eyes or your ears. It's going to like with the PS5, you literally get to feel it. So one of the games that I enjoy playing is the Spider-Man Miles Morales, and when you do the triggers, you can literally feel when you're web swinging. So like I think it just makes it so much more immersive when you get more of those senses involved in it. So like if like you were talking about if the VR stuff, if you got to feel if someone shot you and you got to feel that, like obviously not, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you got to feel like a little nip or something, then I feel like that would be incredibly more immersive and you'd feel like you'd be even more scared to play games.
I think that would also be something that could maybe bring VR more into mainstream, or like
Mhm.
make consumers ask for it more, because right now it's just like what you hear from VR is just like this clunky locomotion. I point myself from point A to B and just click on things,
Mhm.
kind of thing. I think Half-Life Alyx did a good job with that to kind of break up with that. Obviously, with VR, you have way more problems with motion sickness, as it's like directly in your face and replacing your real life vision,
Mhm.
which you still have when you stare at a screen. And yeah, like that is something Half-Life Alyx did really well. So I've heard. I've read some reviews. I haven't played it myself. I could, but haven't yet. But yeah, just from the trailers, what you've seen, it looks like a major improvement of what VR can do. So then add these haptics and like physical cues to it, and I think VR could be really good in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Especially if they had like a little I don't know, like a little like air hole, I guess, where it could like blow air at you. I think that like you mentioned about the roller coaster, I think that's really cool.
I know they make outside of this vest. Now this is really expensive, but it's I want to say $30,000, $40,000. It's this big. It's a big like cylindrical piece, and you can
Mhm.
get in it so that you can walk and move. Because
Oh,
I
Oh
have,
yes.
yeah.
I'm actually we have like VR parties. Me and a couple of my guy friends have them. They're really good about standing still and using the joysticks. Not Crystal. I get so like lost in it. I will walk all like I'll end up banging into walls. I knocked this cat right off the cat condo. Like I get very lost in it. But
Mhm.
this is kind of like one of those commercial arcade pieces where you can get
Yeah.
that I think is the future of where we're going with
Mhm.
gaming is visual fidelity and VR and haptics and things of that nature.
I think VR needs to be improved a lot still, because as you said, you get the urge, your character is moving, so you need to move. And I think that's what messes with my brain as well, because I get motion sick all the time when I play VR, especially games where you actively move forwards anywhere, like you have a character that's moving around. Because my body isn't moving, my brain knows my body isn't moving, but my eyes see I'm moving. So it's just confusion, and I get so sick immediately, and I just want to throw up. My brain is like, what is happening? And yeah, with these I think you could call them exoskeletons in a way, where you hang there, and I think that would help me personally, but it's way too expensive. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it will replace what we're getting with consoles, but I think we will get to a point where VR games will not only be 4K, but they will have improved gameplay mechanics going forward. And all of this stuff, everything we've talked about, has come from an indie developer. You hit the nail on the head, Lena, that indie developers set the tone for AAA creativity. Yeah. Would you say that that's an accurate statement?
Yeah, I think so. It's also like sometimes indie games take a formula that's already existing and improve on it. Like, yeah, well, you have like the Metroidvania games, Castlevania, and look what genre came out of that. And all the indie games in that genre, it's mostly indies. You don't have many Metroidvania titles that are AAA. And they really make the best out of it. Of course, the budget is limited, therefore they're often not that long. Probably also why people might not appreciate them so much or play them so often, because they're pretty short. Often dare more because they cater to a smaller audience and do not stress so much about the budget and the sales numbers, which is definitely what AAA titles have to rely on, because they need to get the money back in. But that's why I appreciate indies a lot, because they dare more, and it feels more unique to me than AAA. That's an issue I have with AAA, because they often feel like the same game with a new skin.
Ubisoft.
What's that?
I play their games, but
Assassin's Creed is the same every year. I play them all. I'm not even saying I'm not playing them. I like the games, but they're the same.
A lot of games are like that. A lot of AAA games kind of rely on their name, and they know they're going to sell bigger budgets. So as we wrap up, one thing that I do want to talk about, and I think as artists, you both are uniquely qualified to talk about this. There's a lot of controversy about pricing. Okay, there's a lot of things in the industry that some people feel has devalued games. As artists, you rely on people to respect your work enough to say, I'm willing to compensate you for your creativity and your talent and your time of putting this vision together for me, which is essentially what happens in the video game world. So as artists, as people who say, I do rely on people being willing to spend money, as we close, what message do you have, being very qualified to talk about this, for people out there that do have issues with price, or that maybe they don't understand the value of, especially with indie developers, of why buying it, especially with indie folks, is really important for them to continue creating those games?
I think something that people need to remember is that usually these games take a good few years. Like, I know, for just as an example of like a big AAA title that my boyfriend's currently playing, is Red Dead 2. That took, I think it was like 8 years or something. Like, although they're a massive company, that still took them a really, really long time to make. And it was like, I can't remember what it was when it came out. It was probably like £50 or more. But like they spent 8 years of that making that solely. So just imagine how that could be for like an indie company of 3 people. Like it's gonna take them even longer. And yeah, it might not look the way that Red Dead 2 looks or like the super high def games look, but they still have the same value. It's still someone's whole heart and soul poured into a game that they've been making for years and they're super passionate about. So prices, I understand the annoyance of like trying to pay for a game that's like £70 for one thing, but it is a piece of art. Like it is something that you're taking and you're not only supporting the people that made it, but you're also just enjoying what they've made and seeing that it's something that they're passionate about, that they really love, and it's like literally their child essentially. So I think it's important to remember that it's not just, oh, it's a game. Like it's somebody's livelihood and it was their whole life for like a good amount of time.
Awesome. Lena, what do you have to say on the
I think
topic?
the livelihood point is actually a good point, because from me doing commissions now and financing my studies a bit with that, yeah, I've run into a lot of people in the short time I've been actively taking commissions that, yeah, can you do it cheaper? I don't have the budget for that. Can you do it for free? It's like something
Yeah.
I always get angry about all the time, because I'm just like, how entitled can you be?
Yeah.
I am sitting there working my ass off for you, and you expect me to do it for nothing. I need to eat. I need to pay my bills too. Like if I can't pay my electricity bills, I can't draw anymore. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just the in a way I would actually say it's a way of an entitlement of having something that
Yeah.
you can't afford to have. It's always people like, ugh, your art is overpriced. I've seen it so many times with different artists. It's like, you make your price, you know what you're worth, and you know how long you sit on that. It doesn't matter if someone says, yeah, that looks easy. I know how long I sit on that. And I'm just there, yeah, do it yourself if it is that easy. And it's I would say people generally underappreciate how much work art is. Art as a work field is undervalued, and people don't know how much time can go into that when I think it comes from not doing it yourself and having like no relation to the whole topic and not knowing what goes into it. It's just like, I get the feeling a lot of people sit there and think we are some kind of superhuman machines. We have a picture in a hand and I look just like a printer going over the canvas, like done. But it's
So it's not like that.
yeah. But I feel like that's a lot of people are like that, especially when they come at you with that certain entitlement that I have experienced a few times now.
Yeah.
And I think that can be perfectly transitioned over to the gaming aspect with the I've been following the topic a bit on Twitter with the that's too much, and I'm just like, yeah, prices are subjective. I know what I'm worth. They're not objective. So every artist charges what they deem it worth. A lot of them undercharge because people are just like they are and don't want to pay what the artist probably would deserve.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where the whole controversy comes from. People undervalue art, and therefore the same topic comes up with games now, where it's like, yeah, it's overpriced. Just because another studio did it for nothing doesn't mean this upgrade is worth nothing, because people worked on it.
Well, that makes total sense. I mean, if you look, studios are all different sizes. I mean, there are games out there like Rising Hell that only 3 or 4 people worked on, and then you have giant divisions like Ubisoft that have 6 or 7 main offices. There's a lot of equipment, there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of artists, animators, writers, directors. There's actually more that goes into making a video game than it takes to make a Hollywood blockbuster film or a major television series. So support that. Be supportive of that. Maybe don't be so terribly critical to the developers and to the artists' work when you're venting online. and be respectful of what prices that people want to charge. So I love that we heard that from the mouths of artists. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up, and my friends and I are going to stay here and chat for a few minutes. But everybody, thank you so much for watching episode 11, and thank you, Lena and Liv, and to Julia. I know you had to go early, but thank you so much. And I will put the information below so that you guys can follow these folks on Twitter if you'd like, and check out their artwork as well. Just look in the pinned post below. And I will see you guys next week. Once again, thanks for watching.
Bye.